Okay, hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Christy Curley, and I'm here to talk to you about advising and registration within the Norman J. Radow College of Humanities and Social Sciences. Maybe. Okay, there we go. Sorry. All right, so again, my name is Christy Curley. I am the Director of Advising for our Undergraduate Advising Center. And here on the screen, you can see our entire advising team. So we are a rather large team. And I'm going to pause here and let the other advisors who are in the room today introduce themselves. That they would introduce themselves. So we are located in Willingham Hall. So that is the small building very close to this one. If you were to go out the entrance right by the Starbucks and just kind of go straight across from the Starbucks, you'd run right into us. We're also right next to that gazebo and outdoor sitting area, and also that like covered walkway. So we're kind of right there. It's a small building. We're on the second floor, suite 202. That's where our main office is, and that's where you'll go to check in for any of your appointments. We do occupy 3 different suites within the building, but you're always going to want to start in 202 because that's where our front desk is. All right, so this might be a bit of a new concept for some of you. Some of you maybe not, but bear with me. I do want to take a moment to explain it because it can be a little bit confusing if it's new. So just a bit about how the university is structured. So as you know, your university is Kennesaw State University, but within the university, we have many academic colleges. And so our college is the Radow College of Humanities and Social Sciences. So if anyone asks you what college are you in, they're not asking about KSU. Typically, especially if it's someone within KSU who's asking you. So you might want to respond with Radow or RCHSS or Humanities and Social Sciences. So that's your college. Then within the college, you have departments and schools, and then within those, you have your majors. So that's kind of the breakdown and hierarchy of the university structure. And then speaking of majors, these are all the majors that we have within our college. So we do have quite a lot of majors that we house within our college. We're the largest college at the university, both in terms of programs offered and students enrolled. So we are the biggest. And as a reminder, the majors that should be in this room are, and I would list them. If you're not one of those majors, if you want to just raise your hand, we want to make sure you are in the right place today. So please just let us know so we can help get you where you need to be. Okay, now we want to hear from you all. So we're going to do a quick poll, and the question is, what excites you most about college or coming to KSU? So I couldn't get the screen capture to work for moving off of the PowerPoint. If you click that link, it will take you to a poll everywhere, and I can do a quick separate video that shows you kind of how to use that. But basically, you would just quickly explain to students how they're going to text in their responses, and then you and the other advisors in the room can just comment on the things that come up on the screen. This is a great opportunity to plug some things. So if a student says, that they're excited about food tends to come up a lot for my group. You talk about the dining commons or the fact that we have a Chick-fil-A and a Moe's and a Starbucks, a couple Starbucks on campus. If they talk about meeting people, you can plug the opportunity to do student organizations. So it's just kind of a cool opportunity to hear where they're coming from and sort of play off of their thoughts and what they're thinking, to plug some of those resources that we have at KSU. So next I want to talk more specifically about advising. So what is advising? So your advisor, we like to think of us as being your partner all the way from orientation to graduation. So the entire time you're here. Now, of course, if you change your major, that could change your advisor. We could have staffing changes. So those kinds of changes can happen. But ideally, we want you to have a person today that you keep until you walk across that stage for graduation. So your advisor can help you with a lot of things. You're all probably immediately thinking, we help you get your classes or plan your schedule, and that is a huge part of what we do, but we do a lot of other things as well. So we'll help you with creating and meeting your goals, figuring out what your interests are and how to best explore those, whether that be different classes that you take or different clubs or organizations that you join or internships that you pursue, helping you choose a major and helping you learn more about the major that you've chosen, making sure that you're progressing through your degree in a timely fashion, choosing the correct courses in the right order, of course, registering for the proper classes. We don't register you for classes, but we help you do that. Um, Connecting you with different campus resources and student services across campus, and getting you connected in different ways to what we have to offer here at KSU. So a good thing to think is if you're not sure who to talk to, you can come talk to your advisor. If we don't know the answer, we can help get you in touch with the person who does. So when should you visit your advisor? Ideally, once a semester would be perfect. If not, then once a year, because you want to make sure you're having those regular checkpoints with us to see how things are going, to make sure you're taking the right classes and you're still on track to meet your goals. But anytime you have questions about your major or your minor, if you want to create an academic plan, if you're preparing to register or have questions about the registration process, if you're struggling in your classes, we are a great resource. So don't be ashamed or embarrassed to come talk to us if you're struggling, because we can help connect you with resources that you may not even know exist that can help you through the challenges you're facing. Or sometimes it's nice to just have someone to kind of talk through things and help identify what your obstacles are and different ways to potentially overcome them. So let us know about what you're striving for, what your goals are, and if you're having any challenges with meeting those, because we would love to help and have those conversations with you. And again, any other questions or concerns, we can't answer everything, but we can help you find the person who can. Now, I will give a little caveat to that the website is an excellent resource. So if you know that we're not your financial aid counselor, but you don't know who your counselor is, sure, you could email us to find that out, but it would be quicker and easier for you to just look on our website, because you don't have to wait for a reply. All right, now I want to hear from you again because I'm curious if you're nervous about anything. So starting college is a new experience. There can be a lot of things that you're uncertain about or a little apprehensive about. So what kinds of things are you nervous about? And then again, you would just kind of play off of their responses. This is a great segue into the next slide about student resources. So a lot of times they are nervous about doing well in their classes, about meeting people, about staying on top of everything and being organized. So you can kind of share tips and tricks or different resources with them depending on what they say. And if there's a lull, a lot of times we kind of talk about what we're excited about or nervous about as well. So we kind of talk amongst ourselves also. So you can maybe say like, I'm nervous about traffic, or I'm nervous about, I don't even know, but you can kind of play off of each other too as you're waiting for those responses to roll in, so it's not awkward. Okay, so as we kind of mentioned during the poll, we have a lot of student success resources here at KSU. The list on the screen, I'm not going to read through it, but these are just some of the resources that we have available. There are many that you can choose from to meet goals, to help you through challenges, whatever the case may be. So make sure you're taking advantage of these. You're already paying for these with your student fees, so you might as well use them. So things like if you don't know what you want to do when you're done, like as far as your job goes, or you need help crafting your resume, career planning and development is perfect for that. If you're challenging with anxiety, if you're challenged by anxiety or depression or loneliness, homesickness, anything like that, counseling and psych services is a great resource. We have public safety available to keep you safe and respond to anything, or if you just need like someone to help walk you from your last class back to your residence hall, you can always call a safety officer for that. The Smart Center is available for tutoring, the Writing Center for help with your papers, and also the Student Disability Services is a great resource if you have any disabilities that you would like to see if you can get accommodations for, especially if you maybe had an IEP or something like that in high school. That does not automatically follow you over, and we can't just request that information from your high school. So you have to actually contact Student Disability Services, do an intake process with them to determine what your needs are and whether or not we can accommodate some of those. So make sure you're reaching out. even if it's something as simple as ADD. I know a lot of people have that, but that can be a big obstacle and a big challenge, and there might be some resources available there to help you in small ways that could make a big difference in your overall performance and just mental well-being while you're here at KSU. So to go along with that, we have some keys to success, some little tips, suggestions that we've pulled together from some of our advisors here in our center. So again, I'm not going to read through all of these, but take a look at them. Some of them may seem obvious, but they are not necessarily easy. So attending classes, the very first one on the list, it seems like, yeah, of course, that's an obvious one, but it's so easy to skip classes. I was in college once. I remember it can be very tempting if you're sleepy or not feeling your best, or just aren't loving the class. It can be really easy to try to just skip a few, but it's so much more difficult to do well in a class if you don't go to it, to hear those lectures or participate in those discussions and be able to ask your questions in real time. So make sure you're going to those classes and that you are participating in them. Using those student success resources that we talked about on the previous slide, getting advised regularly, maintaining a good balance. So I'm sure a lot of you are going to be working as well as taking classes, or maybe you have families that you're helping take care of, whether that's children or siblings or parents. You may just have really active personal lives. You might be really involved in student organizations or clubs or church. I mean, you might have a lot of things that you're balancing. So we want to make sure that you have reasonable goals and you're managing your time well. So all that goes into just staying healthy and maintaining that good wellness balance for your life. Let's see, get to know your faculty. Your professors are great. They love what they do. They love talking to students, and they love the content that they're teaching. So get to know them. There's a lot of interesting things you can learn from your faculty. You never know when later down the line you might need a recommendation, and faculty typically can give better recommendations than even we can because they see you more often than we do, and they can really speak to your performance. So get to know them and have that relationship and rapport with them. And don't be afraid to ask your questions. That's what they're there for. They have those office hours specifically for you to visit them, so make sure you take advantage of that. Also want to do a quick plug for some workshops that our office will be doing in the fall. So this is the Getting Your Stuff Together workshops, and they are all going to be virtual. So we'll be doing them either on Teams or Zoom, but you'll have opportunities to sign up for those as we get a little bit closer to the dates. In a bit, I'll show you how you can follow us on social media. That would be a great way to find out about things, but also check your student email regularly because we'll be sending it out that way as well. But we have 4 workshops coming up in the fall, and each workshop will be offering twice, so you should have a morning and an afternoon opportunity to attend that. So things like how to use your degree works effectively, understanding your GPA and possibly improving your GPA, finding your voice, and planning for the unplanned. So just really think about what of these might be helpful to you. If you want to take a picture of this slide and save it so you can refer back to it, and just be on the lookout for those invitations to sign up for those again at the beginning of fall semester. And I also want to take a minute to just talk briefly about some of the differences you'll experience between high school and college, because it is very different. And if you've not done dual enrollment, if you're a first generation college student and you haven't had parents or siblings to kind of tell you about some of this stuff, some of it could be surprising, and it could really throw you off and affect your grades and your just well-being in the fall. So these are some things to be mindful of. So for example, in high school, your classes lasted all year long. In college, they each only last one semester. So you're going to be registering again in October for your spring classes, which will be totally different than your fall classes. In high school, all your classes were roughly about the same size, but in college, you might have a class that has hundreds of students in it in a big auditorium, or an online class with a lot of students, or you might have a very small class with maybe only 15 to 20 people in it. So it can vary a lot. And typically your major classes are going to be a little smaller than your gen eds. So you'll see those class sizes probably get smaller as you move through your degree. In high school, your classes, they all took place at the same time, right? You got there, like 7:30 or 8, you got out by 2 or 3. But in college, your schedule would be different every single day depending on how you set it up. So you might have a class at 9 a.m. and then not another one until 3, and then have another one at 7, and then the next day your schedule will be totally different. So you do have to be a little bit more organized to keep track of where you need to be and when. You also, this isn't on here, but you also don't always have someone waking you up and reminding you to go to class and making you go to class like you did with high school if your parents were really on top of you about getting up in the morning. So be mindful about that as well. You are going to have to be a little more responsible for following through with things. There are a lot of assignments and grades in high school. You know, you could do extra credit. If you do really well on your homework, then it's okay if you bombed a couple tests. But in college, a lot of classes just have a few grades, and some of them only have like 2 tests, and that's it. So if you bomb a test, it could mean that it's very difficult for you to pass that class. So there's not a lot of buffer with these smaller assignments. So you do have to make sure you're giving each assignment and test your all, because those grades are very important and are weighted very heavily. In high school, your schedule was usually just given to you typically. You maybe had some freedom with some elective type things, but for the most part, your schedule was developed and you were just informed of it. Whereas in college, you're going to register for your own classes. So you have the ability to choose your schedule and make it what you want it to look like within the realms of what's out there and open. In high school, you may have had teachers who reminded you constantly about due dates and exam dates and really made sure you knew what was going on. You might have some of that in college, but you are also going to be responsible for following that course syllabus on your own. So you're going to get that at the beginning of each class, and you're going to be responsible for keeping up with when those tests are, what the homework assignments are. Your professor may or may not remind you about those things. So you do want to make sure you have a good system for that. Maybe you, at the beginning of each semester, you take that syllabus and start plugging in those things into a planner or a calendar. Or maybe you look at your syllabus every single day to see what's going on in each class, but have a system. Don't just throw that in the bottom of a bag or lose it in your room. You want to make sure you're keeping up with that. And in high school, some of you maybe didn't have to study, or you didn't have to study very hard. In college, chances are you're going to have to study and put in some significant time. That was a shock for me when I came to college. I was used to studying very little. Maybe I did a few note cards for certain types of tests, but for the most part, I didn't have to put in too much time to prepare for things. And then in college, I got a C on my first test in health, and I realized, whoa, I actually have to study for this. And that seems obvious, but it was kind of a shock for me. So that's something to be mindful of. You want to make sure you're setting aside time to prepare for those things. Okay, let's talk about your graduation plan. So your degree is worth 120 credit hours. So most of you probably want to graduate in 4 years. That's typically the goal. So to do that, you would need to complete 30 credits a year. Now, some of you may be bringing in credits like dual enrollment or AP scores, so those numbers might be a little bit different some years, but on average, for the most part, you're going to shoot for 30 credit hours a year to finish in 4 years. So how does that look? There's a few options. So 4-year plan 1, which is kind of the typical recommendation, would be to take 15 credit hours every fall and spring semester. That way, you're definitely done in 4 years. And you do have summer semester in there as a buffer in case you end up withdrawing from something or failing something. You can catch up in the summer. The second option is to only take 12 credit hours every fall and spring, but always take 6 hours in the summer. Now, of course, with that plan, you're actually not graduating until the summer. You're not finishing until the summer of that 4th year instead of the spring. So it does take you that extra semester with that plan. And you don't have the buffer room if you do need to make up a course. That's going to add time. So that plan might be a little bit more risky, but it is an option. And then, of course, some people just prefer the 5-year plan where you take 12 hours every fall, spring, and no summers, and it takes you a total of 5 years. And that's fine. Some of you, it might take you more than 5 years because you're doing school part-time while you work or you take care of your kids. Whatever you want to do is fine with us, but we want to make sure that you're meeting your goal. So if your goal is 4 years, we want to make sure we're being realistic and staying on top of what it takes to do that. And just so you know, we've talked a lot about credit hours. If you're not aware of this, a credit hour roughly translates to an hour of class time per week. So if a class is worth 3 credit hours, as most of them are, you're spending roughly 3 hours of class time each week. And that's kind of how that translates. You need to be in at least 12 credit hours each semester to be considered a full-time student. But again, 15 hours is what you need for that 4-year plan 1. So what is the general education? We're going to be talking about general education as we talk about what classes you're going to be taking and what your degree requires. So the general education is made up of a variety of subjects, and you see some of those on the screen, and we just want to make sure that all of our students are well-rounded and have exposure to each of these subjects regardless of their major. So Gen Ed, again, regardless of your major, everyone has to take them. It's made up of 5 areas, areas A through E. You don't have to take those courses in alphabetical order, so it's not like I did area A, then I did B, then I did C. Usually your schedules are going to be a mixture of courses from several areas. You also don't have to take one class per area each semester, so sometimes students think, okay, I've got to take an A, a B, a C, a D. No, it'll just be a random mixture until you've completed everything, basically. We also don't recommend the idea of knocking out your core or your gen ed before you start your major. We want you to start your major right away. So you're going to be taking some of those gen eds along with major courses throughout the course of your degree until you've completed them. And we also will talk about Area F. Area F is actually it's specific to your major, so those are your lower division major requirements. So areas A through E are the gen eds, area F is specific to your major, and then the rest of your degree are your upper division major requirements and electives. So what are you going to register for today for the fall semester? Assuming you're not bringing in any credits, you're going to ideally want to get English 1101, your first math, which would be either Stat 1401, which is elementary statistics, or Math 1001, which is quantitative reasoning. An intro course to your major, so for example, if you're a sociology major, you're going to take Sociology 1101, and 2 general education courses, assuming you're doing the 5 classes, 15-hour plan. And so those gen ed courses can be any of those general education courses. Now, hopefully most of you have met with an advisor already and you've discussed this and you have a plan in place. If not, you will be getting a check sheet, or you may have already have one emailed to you, and feel free to explain the situation for how you all do it for your rooms. So that will help you figure out what those gen ed options are. And if you're doing a Bachelor of Arts degree, you may want to go ahead and take your first foreign language course for that 5th class, because you are going to have to take up through the 2002 level, which if you're starting with the very beginner class, that's a total of 4 foreign language courses. So it's a good idea to go ahead and get those started as well. Okay, real quickly, I'm going to show you degree works. I know the OLs had talked about that already and how the courses in yellow are completed and the ones in blue are in progress. The ones in pink are still needed, and ignore that degree progress bar. But I wanted to point out a couple things that you'll want to see. So you can see who your advisor is right there. You can view if you have any registration holds that are preventing you from being able to sign up for courses. You can see your major, your catalog year, which locks you into your degree requirements. So degree requirements can change from year to year, so that's important to know what your catalog year is. And your time ticket, which tells you when you can start registering for courses. So how to register, and I promise we are almost done and we will set you free to do so. So it depends a bit on if you've prepared at all. So for those of you who have already planned a schedule using Schedule Builder, you're actually going to want to go to the registration tab in OWL Express and click on this class Schedule Builder Planner registration cart and register for your courses from there. If you've used the schedule search and you've written down CRNs for the courses you want to take, you're going to go to that registration tab, click on the add or drop classes. That'll bring up this screen. You'll type in those CRNs and you'll hit submit changes to register. If you've done none of that and you're starting from scratch, you're going to want to you're going to want to follow the steps that are in this video. Let me show that again. It won't let me go off the screen for the recording. All right, important dates and information real quick. So Fall 22 registration is open until August 10th at 11:45 p.m. Advising holds will be placed on your account in early September. And just as a reminder about that, all new students will have an advising hold. So you'll have to meet with an advisor before you can register for courses. If you're a transfer student, you may not end up having any holds. So that's just really for brand new freshmen. And then Spring 23 registration is going to open in the middle of October. And then if you need to make an appointment, you can do so at appointments.kennesaw.edu, or you can visit our website, which is radau.kennesaw.edu /UAC. Okay, and I want you guys to go ahead and get your phones out and either take a picture of this to do it later, or you can go ahead and open up these apps, whichever ones you use, and follow us, because we want you to follow us on Instagram and or Facebook to get updates, reminders, see different student highlights, and other fun things that our office is promoting. So that is a great way. Again, if you wanted to do those workshops, this would be a great way to find out about that, or just, get reminders about things like when the withdrawal deadline is and when registration opens. And that concludes our presentation. So you guys can go ahead and start registering unless anyone has any questions before you get going. And that's basically the presentation. So hope everyone likes it. I know it is a bit long, but I feel like what it has is perhaps a little bit more relevant and unique to what they're getting from other presentations during the day. And you can obviously talk a little bit more or less about anything that I did, but I think in total this should take around 30 minutes because we're at about 25 minutes before I started this wrap-up talk. So between the two poll everywheres in the video, it should probably take about 6 or 7 minutes. Sorry about my kids screaming in the background. So yeah, there you go. Let me know if you have questions. Thanks.